Oh yeah, little pizza pie. Big fan of the pizza. As you can see here, there's all kinds of good stuff on this pizza. You can see which slice I like. I like everything on my pizza. So right here is my type of pizza. Anyways, today we're going to work on some percents. And before we do that, we're just going to review a little bit about how to take a percent of a number. And to do that, I'm going to bring in my assistant, Victoria. Say hi, Victoria.
Hi.
And she's going to help us with this problem. And to do that, she's going to take a look at this pizza and she's going to answer a couple quick questions. And the first question I'm going to ask Victoria is, hey, what's your favorite topping on this pizza?
Ham.
Ham. Excellent choice. Can't go wrong with the ham there. So let's take a look at this pizza. And Victoria, how many pieces of ham, or how many slices do you see have ham on it?
5.
5. I'm going to agree with that. Let's just mark that real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, that's only part of the problem. The other part of the problem is we have to figure out how many slices total are on this pizza. So, Victoria, how many total slices do you see here?
Good question, Dougie. 8.
8. Let's make sure that she is correct. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I agree with her. She's got 8 slices. Now, to figure out what percent of the pizza that she would eat because of the ham, let's take a look at the numbers. So, first of all, the ham, the part of the pizza, which is the piece of the pizza that she enjoys, would represent the part. And she just got done saying how many slices have the ham?
5.
5. So that's part of the pizza. Now the whole pizza, which we have here, or the total, are the total number of slices, including the ham. And how many slices did you see?
8.
8. Very good. So there we have our ratio of 5 to 8. Now to turn that into a percent, all we're going to do is divide our two numbers. So you take 5, use your calculator please. 5 divided by 8, when you enter that into the calculator, you get 0.625. Now this is not our percent. We got to change this to a percent. So Victoria, how would you change that number to a percent?
You would multiply it by 100.
Okay, so you would take this number, multiply it by 100, and you end up with
62.5%.
Very good. Or another way you could do it, which is my way of doing it, is I just quickly look at the number and I move the decimal over 2 spots to get 62.5%. Either method is correct. So it's important to understand how to do percents when we start today's lesson, which is two-way tables. If you forget how to do it, feel free to ask your teacher for a little bit extra help. Okay? So let's move on to our first problem. Okay, so moving on to the first page of your packet, you're going to take a look at what are two-way tables. Now, two-way tables are basically a way of comparing two different sets inside a variable. For example, let's take a look at the first two-way table. Here we have dog and cat lovers. You can see we have two categories inside these two columns here, and I'd call this probably pets. So we have dogs and cats that we're comparing, and you can see here we're comparing two different grade levels. We're comparing 7th grade and 8th grade. Now, some good advice when doing a two-way table is to just find the totals of all your columns and rows. So let's just quickly do that. And please grab a calculator. It's so much easier to grab a calculator to do this with, so let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just quickly add up the columns. So when I add 83 plus 62, Victoria, what do I end up with?
145.
So 145, just go ahead and copy this down. I'll do this one for you guys. Let's do the cats. The cats, when I add up 47 plus 68, what do I end up with?
115.
115, she is so good with the calculator. Okay, now moving across, let's go ahead and do the 7th graders. Add up 83 plus 47, Victoria.
And you get 130.
130. 8th graders, when you take 62 plus 68 going across.
You also get 130.
130. Now, here's what's important. To make sure that you did it right, what you're going to do is you're going to add up the bottom rows. So I'm going to add up 145 and 115. And Victoria, what do you get when you do that?
260.
So you get 260. Now, if you did everything correctly, that means this column of 130 plus 130 should equal 260. And, of course, that does. So I added them up correctly. Now, in this first problem, we're not going to have to do any percent. They're just asking us some basic questions about the table. So the first question asks us how many people answered the survey. So that's basically just asking how many total people gave a response. So you would add up everything, all of the totals. So what is the total of our survey? Well, you find that here in the bottom right-hand corner. This tells us how many people answered the survey. In that case, I don't need Victoria's help for that one. I can just see it's 260. So let's take a look at part B. It says how many 8th graders prefer dogs. So go ahead and look up there. Again, you're just grabbing information from the table. And Victoria, how many 8th graders prefer dogs?
62.
62 would be correct. You can see that right here inside the table. So we'll put 62 down here. And let's take a look at part C. Part C says, how many 7th graders responded to the survey? So this time it really doesn't matter if they like dogs or cats. We just want to know how many 7th graders answered the survey. So Victoria, what do you think the answer is to that question?
130.
130, very good. So you just come over here to the 7th grader row and just go all the way till you get to the totals. And you can see that the total is 130. How many students preferred cats? I guess I should say cats. How many students preferred cats? Well, again, take a look at the cat column, which is right here, and figure out, well, what's the total of the cat column? And Victoria, what do you get?
You get 115.
115. Good answer there. So far, Victoria's 100%. We like that. Take a look at part E. And part E says, how many 7th graders prefer cats? So now, you're going to look at 7th graders, which is right here, and the cats column, see where they meet. So that would be right here. And Victoria, quickly, how many 7th graders prefer cats?
47.
47. Okay, so there's some basic questions about a table, just grabbing information from the table to get the answers that we're looking for. Now let's take a look at another table, and we'll get a little bit more complicated type questions here. So let's take a look at that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use two-way tables to find percents. So here we're going to take a look at a couple Pittsburgh malls. We're going to take a look at the Monroeville Mall and the Ross Park Mall. And we're going to look at two types of stores. We want to look at the clothing stores and any other type of store other than clothing store. That could be like a Verizon store or like a restaurant, something like that would probably fall under the category of other. So just like we did before, the first thing we want to do is total up each column and row. And you can either hit pause and do this on your own, or I'm just going to go quickly and give you the answers just to speed things up. Again, please use a calculator when doing this. So again, I'm going to go with my trusty assistant. So let's start with Monroeville Mall. Victoria, what did you get for the total for Monroeville Mall?
150.
150. Very good. Total for Ross Park Mall?
160.
160. Now let's do our rows. The clothing store?
209.
So 209. And the other?
101.
101. Now again, my rows should total up my columns. So let's quickly do 150 plus 160, which is
310.
310. And if that's correct, 209 plus 101 should be 310, and it is. So 310 there would be our totals. So now let's take a look at the questions that are going to be asked. So I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth, but just use your sheet to answer this as we go, as my table flies up and down the page here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find the percent of stores at Monroeville Mall that are clothing stores. So this goes back to our pizza question. And we're going to write down, so please write this down. To find a percent, we want to write part to whole as our ratio. So the first thing we need to identify is what is the part? What are we looking for? Well, in this case, we're looking for Monroeville Mall and the clothing stores. So what percent of stores at the Monroeville Mall are the clothing stores? So what represents the part, Victoria?
The 115.
Very good, the 115. So let me write that down, 115. Now, to find the whole, we want to know, well, what part of the whole is that? Well, they want to know what percent of stores at Monroeville Mall are clothing stores. Not all of the malls, just Monroeville Mall. So what are the total amount of stores, Victoria, at Monroeville Mall?
That would be 150.
So that would be 150. Very good. Go ahead and grab your calculator. You take 115 divided by 150, you end up with 0.766, and we're going to round that. So Victoria, what would that be as a percent? Move the decimal over 2 spots.
It would be 76.7%.
Very good. Okay, excellent. So let's move on to the next one. And again, you can hear Ollie in the background because he always has to make an appearance. So, hey, Ollie. Okay, so let's look at question B. Question B asks, what percent of the total amount of stores are other stores? So again, let's write our ratio down here, part to whole or total. Let's write total down here this time. So the first thing we want to know is, what are the total amount of other stores? Well, to find that, we are going to look at the other row. Well, how many other stores are there? Well, there are how many, Victoria?
101.
So we will write down 101. Now, we need to figure out what are the total amount of stores. Well, again, come back up here in the table, and we can see our magic number in the corner. The total amount of stores is what, Victoria?
310.
310. That would be stores. 310 stores. So again, our part, which is the total other stores, is 101. And our total stores is 310. So now to find a percent, we are going to divide that, and we get 0.326. Just move the decimal over 2 spots to the right, and Victoria, what do we get for a final answer?
32.6%.
Very good. So 32.6% of the stores are other stores. Okay, let's take a look at the last one in this problem. This one, we want to figure out what percent of the total stores are Ross Park Mall stores. So this time we're going to be focusing in on our Ross Park Mall column. So we want to know what percent of the total stores is Ross Park Mall. Okay, so again, let's start with our word ratio. We have part over whole, or total, you choose. So again, what is our part? Well, we need to figure out, first of all, how many Ross Park Mall stores there are. So Victoria, how many Ross Park Mall stores are there?
160.
160. You can see that column totals 160. So let's go ahead and write that in there, 160. And now we need to figure out, well, how many total stores are there? So again, go back up to your table. And Victoria, how many total stores are there?
310.
310. There's our magic number in the corner that tells us the total of everything. So 310 goes under whole. Grab your calculator, do your division, and then when you divide, you get 0.516. Go ahead and, Victoria, tell us how to turn that to a percent.
You're going to move your decimal point over 2 places, and you get 51.6%.
Good. So 51.6% of the stores are Ross Park Mall stores. Very good. All right, let's take a look at the last problem here. Now, this problem is very similar to what you might see on the PSSAs. You notice that there's no extra space for totals or extra rows or columns, and that's how they're going to be on the PSSAs. So you're just going to have to write the numbers underneath or to the right of each column on the PSSAs. It's okay to write on the test. So let's just quickly, again, you can either hit pause and do this on your own right now, or you can go through and just copy down what I write down right now. So first of all, we're going to total up the Under Armour category. So Victoria, what's the total of Under Armour?
162.
So 162. What's the total of the Nike?
188.
188. Okay, now let's do the rows for the males. So the rows for the males, what's 58 plus 112, Victoria?
170.
170. And for the females, 104 plus 76 is?
180.
180. And then let's go ahead and total 162 plus 188 to get?
350.
350. And again, double check, please, that 170 plus 180 does equal 350, and it does. So there's our total amount of people who participated here in our survey. And again, it looks like we're comparing gender over here, male and female, to the type of athletic clothing they like, whether they prefer Under Armour or Nike. So, take a look at question A. Question A just asks, how many respondents prefer Under Armour? So, are they asking for percent here? No, they just want to know how many people preferred Under Armour. So, Victoria, how many people preferred Under Armour?
162.
Very good, 162. So you just go up to the Under Armour column, which is right here. The total is 162. Now, for part B, we have to find a percent. And what do we need to find a percent of? Well, we need to find a percent of females who prefer Nike. So, again, we would need to come up with our ratio, part to whole. So, what percent of females prefer Nike? So, first of all, how many females like Nike? Victoria?
76.
76. We get that right here in the table. This is our females liking Nike. Now, it just wants to know of that 76, what percentage is that of the female respondents? So how many total females responded to the question, Victoria?
180.
180. We get that right here from the female row because the total amount of females who responded is 180. So that is our total, 180. So let's quickly do our division. 76 divided by 180 is 0.422. Victoria, go ahead and tell us how to get the magic percent here.
You move your decimal place over 2 to the right, and then you get 42.2%.
42.2%. Very good. So again, just to remind you, please be careful in the question and to figure out exactly what they're asking. They just want to know what percent of the females like Nike. All right, and part C. Of all the responses, what percent were male who preferred Under Armour? So let's get our ratio down here, part to whole. So to figure out the part, we need to figure out what we're looking for. Well, we need male who like Under Armour. So Victoria, how many males like Under Armour?
That would be 58.
58. You get that right there. So we're going to write 58 up top. Now, of all the responses, that's the key phrase here. That tells us that we want to know the total of the people who responded. So Victoria, how many people responded?
350.
350, and that's our magic number right here in the corner that tells us how many people responded. So let's go ahead and write that down. Take your calculator, divide 58 divided by 350. And when you do that, you get 0.166. Victoria, let's hear the magic phrase. Go ahead and tell us.
Okay, you move your decimal place over 2 to the right, and you get 16.6%.
Very good. And that takes us to now our last question. If you want to hit pause right now to go ahead and try this before we come up with the answers to make sure you're on the right track, feel free to do so. And then you can check your answer with what we got. So I'll give you a second to hit pause if you'd like. Okay, I know you're just going to copy this, but hey, let's try it anyways. So it says, what percent of respondents were female? So again, let's write our magic formula here, part to whole. So part represents our target. What are we looking for? Well, we're looking just for females. So how many total females responded? Let's come up to our table, and you can see, Victoria, how many total females responded?
180.
180. We get that right here. The total of the female column is 180. Write that down. And to find the total respondents, that's our magic number in the corner, Victoria.
350.
350 right there. So let's change colors. 350. Grab your calc. Do your division. 180 divided by 350 is 0.514. Victoria, hit it.
You move your decimal place 2 to the right, and you get 51.4%.
51.4%. Excellent. Okay, so take a look at this last page. This last page you're going to use to answer the quiz questions at the end of this. Now, don't freak out because now we're dealing with 3 grades over here. You still did the same thing. You add up all your rows. You add up all your columns, see if the totals equal each other. Then go ahead and try to answer the questions on the quiz the best you can. Please show your teachers the results of your quiz when you are done with that so we can see how well you did. Okay, good luck.